Da 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 da! What's my good dear? Welcome, welcome, everybody. Let's give YouTube a couple of minutes, get those notifications out, let people know I've gone live. And if you've never met me before, I'm smiling through this because this is a little spiel that I do just at the beginning of every live. It's because I know I have 5 seconds to catch your attention, right? And in those 5 seconds, you get to decide whether or not to give me another 5 seconds. So let's just carry on with the live. And hi again. I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside. I had an incredible week. I'm not saying it was absolutely fantastic. There were lots of hiccups. There were little stresses. I was feeling the weight of the world. And yet at the same time, these little births of beauty, gifts, coincidences that kind of eased my day to day. I'm having fun telling everybody how much I strived, how I ate peanut butter toast for a month in order to achieve picking up these glasses. And it is funny, but at the same time, it's true, right? And there are lessons in these experiences that we get in our day to days. And I'm thinking, without those lessons that I picked up along the way, I might have neglected myself. I might have neglected those needs. I might have thought that I wasn't important enough to have just even those basic needs. And my glasses, even here, they are. You guys, I wore these glasses for 4 months, right? I had another handle from another pair of glasses attached to that with electrical wire wrapped around it, right? Because I couldn't afford to buy the glasses. This all contributes to my sense of lack in my life when I'm struggling like this. So these are the kinds of things that I have to get on top of, right? So they're not on top of mind. It's like dealing with the big problems in your life in order to take that stress off of yourself so that you can start cleaning up all those little things in your lives. And right, having a proper pair of glasses and working in customer service, working online, showing up fresh like a loaf of bread in my lives every day. That it's a necessity, isn't it? And 4 months was too long for me to go without, right? For a lot of people, that was pocket change. For myself, that was a lot of peanut butter, toast, and coffee, right? So that we could achieve these small necessities. But like I said, when you get these small necessities taken care of, and that stress comes off of you a little bit, right? Your feelings lighten. And when your feelings lighten, some of those other problems that might seem unachievable, because definitely to me, I said, oh my goodness, how am I going to get this done? Right? How am I going to be able to do this? I didn't need this popping into my life in the moment. But this week, as you're working out the problems, I get my glasses. That's absolutely fantastic. I got in some really nice long walks, and I should have been patting myself on my back and really enjoying it. But I was so, right? Because sometimes I don't rein myself in, and I get deep into some interesting content, especially if I find it interesting and I've just come across it. Sometimes I really want to jump into it a little bit just to see if it's something that I want to continue with. And sometimes I get sucked into that continue with, and it takes me away from the things that I really should be doing, and which is those goal settings that work out so amazing for me. I wish I was that person. I am an energy. I have a lot of energy in me, right? But sometimes it's just that initial spark, you know what I mean? It's that rocket fuel coming out your butt that gets you going, or that little emergency, or that phone call, or your boss yelling at you, or somebody's right. And this is what we get motivated by. But wouldn't it be more amazing if I could just get a lot of these stresses taken care of, and that all comes in from the lessons, and it's all practicing my craft, and not just my craft, but these things that should be part of my everyday day to day, but because it was never part of my programming, right? This is something that I have to work on. And a lot of it is, they give it a lot of different names, right? And for me, I look at it and it's just reality, right? It's a problem in my reality. And so it's something that needs to be ironed out to the best of my ability without beating myself up when I do find it so difficult. But it's not a matter of quitting on the difficult. It's maybe sometimes just trying to come at it through the back door, through another way, or even maybe even dropping it and just going about it a completely different way altogether. Okay, you guys, I'm yibber yabbering away. Oh, but I should finish that, right? About the mixed bag of wonderful, like getting the glasses, and then, you know, it was leaving myself short in between paydays. And of course, this is on my mind, and what we think about is realized, right? So, I'm trying to keep myself busy, and at the same time, I'm thinking, how am I even going to get milk for my coffee? Or, right? I got my glasses, I can feel good about that. But I'm going to be so deep in that lack thought that I won't be able to cheer myself up at all. And here I am in my days off, and I can't even, right, have a decent meal, or, right, peanut butter toast. And I'm not complaining about it, but maybe in a way I was, because it is top of mind. But it was only bothering me because, right, I'm changing my mindset. And maybe I do try a little bit too hard. And, maybe I need to take some of those lessons when I say, to give ourselves a little bit of slack in where we're at. We should be pushing on that door, but not beyond what we're actually capable. And that's where the accidents and the mishaps happen, right? And those misjudgments, and, right, big doo-doos. But the week was amazing. And then in the end, right, I got everything I wanted. I'm right. I'm not going. It just, things worked out for me, and payday's coming, and I'm back in the, what do they call it? They're back in the black, right? We're doing good. I'm out of the red now. I'm good, I think, right till spring, and I don't think that has ever happened in my entire life. Winter always seemed like such a struggle financially for me, and it should have always been, where I put my work in, because that weather does shut us down a little bit, right? But here I am blabbing off again. So let's just get into our word. So every Monday, if you've never popped into one of my lives before, we pick a word on Monday. And all week we chew on that word in different perspectives. Sometimes it's just in that silly humanness that comes to the table, right? Needing to be seen, needing to be heard. But I come in for my own lessons. I come in after each one of these lives, and I watch my lives knowing that there's something there for myself. And it is in that repetitiveness, because we don't always catch it, right? But when we do, oh my goodness, right? We're talking about taking some of that load off, just feeling like everything is going to be okay, that you're not in it alone, right? Just that aha moments that we get once in a while, right? Those understandings, yeah, a mishmash that make us feel good. But sometimes, right, we don't want to look at the problems. We don't want to look. That's in the past. But I tell you, so many times the past has bit me in the butt because I haven't taken care of it. And that's the truth. That's 100% truth, even in my present moment, right? Okay, you guys, let's pick the word. My eyes are closed because I can look at the monitor here and I can see where the words are, but I don't know what the words are. Okay, here we go. Oh, here's a good one for this week, you guys. Our 18th word, and again, I didn't finish off. We're creating a deck of words with impact, and the word we got, the 18th word, our 18th week on words, we got the word connection this week. This should be interesting. This should be interesting because this is something I've always strived for, was that sense of connection. I have these ideas about being in the middle. I don't know, maybe I can tell a little story just so you kind of have an idea where I'm coming from, right? And there's not many species that can crossbreed. You got the liger. I think there's a couple of birds out there, right? But in whole, it doesn't really happen. But it has happened with humans because we do have between 2 and 6% Neanderthal in us. I think that's the case. Don't quote me on that, but you can do the research. Just Google it yourself, right? But I was just thinking, that sometimes monkeys will be able, different species of monkeys will be able to have offspring, but the tribes of those offspring never accept those hybrids into their colonies. Neither branch of the genetics will accept them. So it's just monkeys that will either have to form their own tribe, or they'll just go extinct, right? Where this is where I think where evolution plays in, and we have so many different species of humans, and here we are, Homo sapiens, and we're running the show now, right? With a couple of percentages, right? But still, right? I think about this. Is it possible, with my ideas that somehow, right, those and it takes all kinds to make the worlds, but so I'm just looking at my own case, being a highly sensitive and being empathic, that is it possible that we are somehow in the middle? And when we're talking about connection, and here we're right, come back to the main branch, we're talking about connection that way. I think about the problems that I had growing up, going to live in different elementary schools, just elementary schools, and switching out from school to school and taking that opportunity to reinvent myself in an attempt to be better accepted by people, right? And then when I wasn't accepted, then I would, right, go from participant, I would go to spectator, and I would study all these kids and these teachers and these people that were around me, right? In the hopes that when my dad pulled me out of school and moved somewhere else, that I would maybe try a different way of better integrating, right? And I think this is where this idea of communication for me, it was in this idea of chameleon into different people, because I wasn't being myself. I was just attempting to be more like the people and the kids, right? And the teachers of the school I was leaving, right? And saying, "Oh, they'll get along. So maybe if I try to be a little bit like this," and this is how I moved from school to school, year to year, sometimes two or three different schools in a span of school year. But high school, I only went to two different high schools. My dad got the idea probably that us kids were starting to have some problems, and even though we still moved and arranged so that we could go to the same high school. So I was grateful for that, right? But I think that's where it started for me because, I had to get over that fear, that initial fear. Who wants to start in school in the middle of a school year? That's so hard on the kids, right? And parents these days, they don't take these things into consideration. Maybe they do a little bit because they always look for the perfect time to settle into the school. But sometimes it's that timing, right? Sometimes we're not ready. We're not ready for those big changes, and it can be very, very traumatic. It can be very scary, and it can impact us in ways that could last right into our adulthoods. And some of these things and these experiences I had, that's exactly what happened. But again, like I said, when I came in, a little bit of good and a little bit of bad, those gifts that came along with those scary experiences of going from one school to the next school and trying to find a way to settle in, I found ways to reinvent myself, to chameleon, even though in the moment I didn't look at it that way. But that comes from the lessons that I have now as an adult. And then going back into that childhood and putting myself in my own shoes as an adult, possibly as my own parent, so I could have a better perspective. Because I do believe with the lessons I have now, I would have made the most amazing parent, but not with the mindset I even had 6 years ago. And I'd have to say, that's the truth, right? We always want better for our kids than we wanted for ourselves, right? And I probably would have overspoilt my child or turned my child into a narcissist and given in to everything for them. Or, right, in that fear and in that tendency, what if I had picked up those experiences and projections of my mother and or from another parent and brought that into my relationship with a child and did the exact same thing to them that my own parent did to me, right? So there was no right, it was the two extremes. But looking at this aspect and this idea of being in the middle, right? Being that new colony of monkeys, if you want to look at it that way, not in a derogatory, but just in that idea, if you're going to be rejected, right? And if you look on my Christmas community post talking about this, right, in connection, my community post, I'm inviting everybody. I do a Christmas live show every year. I've been doing it for years and years and years. It's a great way for us to get together, and for lots of us who just need those couple of days of connection with others in order just to get them through those holidays, because how the media compounds us and it reminds us of sometimes of things that we don't want to remember, or to even recognize we don't have in our own lives, or to recognize that, right, we might not have anybody in our lives, right, that we're completely alone. And sometimes, right, it's just a matter of being with people who just get it. We are a mixed batch. And that's what I'm going to say. We are a mixed batch of misfit toys, right? On that island from that Christmas animation movie. I think it was Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And that's the truth. It takes all kinds to make the world. But getting back to this word, connection, you know, it is in those connections that we make along the way. And that beginning, of learning to chameleon and to be a spectator and to see how people move and to start to try and move with the majority a little bit, that maybe somehow along the way, right? It did crack and open up an opportunity for me to be able to express myself in a way that I had a little bit of confidence, right? Maybe I was my own little leader in my geek crew, or right. I certainly wasn't one of the popular kids, right? And yet, in my last couple of years of high school, I bloomed. I have no idea how that happened, but I think it was some teachers that offered up a little bit of time, a little bit of mentorship to me, that I actually, gave up a little bit of my understandings in the hopes of gaining something that would be positive in my life. And I certainly did. And it was in, you know, that communication, it was in making that connection with other people, it was making that connection of the dots. And that's the big one, the connection of the dots, to be able to make that choice. Maybe not verbally, not to express it because my life depended on it, but in my own mind, I was able to say, yeah, you know, that's not right, right? So I was able to peel off some of these negative beliefs just in being a witness, right? Just by being a spectator to somebody else trying to struggle in the way they communicated with others. And we'll just leave that at that in the moment, because that's not what it was about. Not It's about that positive, and how these lessons that we get in our day to days, and sometimes when we do that little bit of extra work to understand why we are the way we are, right? And sometimes it's just not delving into a word in my own perspective. You guys know that I delve deep. Oh my goodness, I am ODing on Lex Fridman these past few weeks. Like I really like sitting in with the brainiacs. I don't know why, because I don't consider myself a brainiac, but at the same time I have to follow that intuition, and I have to say, well, why? Why am I sitting in, and why am I enjoying these conversations on some of these subjects that I'm not a big even fan on? I don't like war. I don't like talking about the deep politics of things, right? Anything that would friction discomfortly that way, that because those would delve into the views. And how can I be somebody who believes that it takes all kinds to make the worlds, when, to me, when we talk about politics, you're taking sides, right? And you can't have a proper conversation without crediting somebody or offending somebody else. And I don't know, right? I was taught, if you don't have something nice to say, you don't say anything at all. But I know that when I step forward in my beliefs and in my understandings, that it has always served me well, or served a situation well, or eased a worry, right? Or I got on top of something. So, connection. So, first impression. So, the first time we picked the word, and this week, I guess we're going to be talking about connection. I just offered up those connections that we make along the way in those uncomfortable, steps that we make in getting close to other people, right? Spreading out, right? Expanding a little bit, and learning to interact with other people. And that's not always fun. And that's coming from the obese kid, right? Probably the only one in any school that I had ever went to in elementary. It wasn't common. Those obese kids, it wasn't common, and it's very, very common. And it makes me curious, right? It makes me wonder why I had that experience then, when it wasn't a commonality, and yet it's such a commonality now. And maybe it was just in my experience and how I dealt with it, because I look out in the world, and right, big girls are cool, big bums are cool, and that wasn't the case when I was growing up, right? Not in the lace. But maybe that was suited into the situation so that it would be better handled, right? those limiting beliefs and those negative attitudes about the way we look, the way we wait, the way we cope, right? The way we comfort ourselves, right? How we move forward, right? Okay, you guys. Connection. Back to the main branch on that. And the connection, obviously, right, is me being here, me having these conversations, sometimes uncomfortable conversations, sometimes very private conversations. But I have that understanding that everything is fair game if I want to share it. And there are as many things, well, I'm not going to say as many things, but there's some things that are deep to me. And some of those things are tied into beliefs, right? Tied into my own understandings, but because I know that anything I put out there, right, any of those lessons will be based in reality because we are based here in reality. And I would like to be able to the best that I can, as comfortably as I can, as understanding in what's going on, right, as I can, without getting punch drunk by it, right? That I'm enjoying what I'm doing, that I'm using some of those skills that I picked up along the way in, I hope, and I would like to think in building those connections, right? In those connections, in those practicing, in all those jobs that I ever had, all those jobs in restaurant and hospitality, all those nightclubs and bars, and it's not all those, but I worked in a few, and bartending was one of my favorite jobs. It didn't even feel like work. It just felt like going to a party every night and getting paid for it and getting paid very, very well. Oh my goodness. And I'm not even joking when I said I made at least a couple of $1,000 every week waitressing in the bars. It was a great job. And it also, right, when I said, when I was on Instagram and I was practicing my craft, and right, how now, and just making that movement forward and just showing up fresh like a loaf of bread and making that one promise every day, that, right, that I can't help but be the evidence out there because I can feel it in myself. And if I can feel it in myself, I suspect that there will be others along the way who will feel it too. And I have to trust in that, right? Because I have to trust that my talents, right? My purpose comes through my pain. But there's been a lot of uckiness along the way. But each one of that is a lesson, right? Each one of those things is going to pass. And it's the truth, right? Those most broken hearts, they do heal. Took some time, it took some talking, it took some crying, but they're good now, right? It makes it possible for me to move forward in getting these things off my plate. I could have talked more, I could have cried more, I could have gotten off my chest more. But these are lessons that we learn along the way. And like I said, and as we learn these things, we just feel lighter. And when we feel lighter, we won't concentrate on what we don't have, right? We'll be looking towards those things that we do have. And I'm grateful for the gifts that are in my life, right? No matter how they came to me, they're mine now. I earned that cat badge, right? And not only did I earn that cat badge, right? I'm responsible, I think, if I have to give the respect to the lessons, right? Because it's the makeup of everything that I'm doing now, right? And so I can't discredit the evidence because I've experienced that evidence for myself. So the only thing that I can possibly do is show up in that evidence, right, of that amazing mentorship and in those good choices and bad choices that, we all make along the way. Thank you so much for the hearts. That's so sweet. I appreciate the company when I pop into these lives. But that's what it is. The heart is in it, right? And it's in that ability to communicate. And I might not have it down packed, but I'm not quite sure if I do want it down packed, right? I think just being myself and just being as truthful in that process as I can, right? And I think that might just be enough to build that connection, right, with who I want to connect with because they'll recognize me, right? If I dolled myself up and wore a different outfit, right? Talked a little bit differently, took my words from the dictionary, I would be presenting myself as somebody I wasn't. But not everybody is aware, and sometimes superficially, I might be that person for somebody. So it's important for me to show up as myself, and that's all the little kinks and all the little beauties about me, right? And I have to trust in that. And so I show up fresh like a loaf of bread, right? Building on that connection, knowing that if nothing else, it'll be in that practice of showing up every day, right? It's in the patterning and it's in practicing that craft that we get better and better. Nancy, hello, dear. Hi, Nancy. How's your night going tonight? Thank you so much for popping in. Most amazing day. Me and my sister, we went out thrifting today. Wow, we scored few $100s anyway. She wanted to go home. I offered to come and help her and stuff, but she just wants to she's an eBay girl. She likes to do her things, and so I was pleased to hang out with her and spend some time with her. Oh, so you got a little bit of happy into your system today, Nancy. Oh, and I forgot in with all those clothes. I have that little train for you too, right? Yeah, I'll be picking up all those treats this weekend to get your box together. But mailing day, I think, is not till the 12th. So I hope maybe sooner, but I think the 12th. I might be able to get a couple of packages out before then, but the soonest I'll be able to do it is on the 8th. And that's just coming up. So in the next week or so, I'm going to have all Christmas all taken care of. My cards are all done. Just finished packing my little packages and get those off and right enjoy the holidays. Oh, Nancy, I forgot to say my Christmas party next Sunday. I'm going to have to message everybody or at least let everybody know I'm not going to be doing my live show next Sunday because the company Christmas party is on. So we'll do something else, but the Sunday night live show will be not on Sunday night because I won't be around. Yeah, I got talked into it. I'll be doing the Christmas party and I'll be doing some bowling. Right? I like bowling. I like that non-impact. I think that's why my bones feel so good that I don't have that aches and pains in my bones and stuff because I was never one for that high impact stuff. I always kept it to the light stuff. Walking, swimming, bike riding. I didn't hiking. Right? Snowshoeing, right? Just the light stuff, not the heavy stuff. That's not my thing. You'd never catch me mountain climbing, that's for sure. 100%. Dang, I was watching some rock climbing today. That's why it came into my mind, right? These things that come, I wonder why that came in. Why I've been watching rock climbing. I've been looking for a new hobby to add into my life. something new, and I didn't know what to do. I was thinking of getting a karaoke machine and singing in my living room, right? And I thought that would help me, right, in communication, is being brave enough. I had somebody tell me I sung really funny when I was a little kid, and right, and being highly sensitive and empathic, it's difficult for me to, right, to come forward. I come forward, right? I come forward, but I'd like it to be with a little less struggle, a little bit, less talking me into going the other way, right? So I was thinking karaoke, and then I was thinking dancing. Maybe I'd pick up dancing. I've been thinking about the rock climbing, like in the gyms. But I'm not really good at holding my own weight. But I do have a fear of dangling heights. And there's quite a bit of dangling, and right. But I thought because I like hiking and stuff, it might help me out if I fall off a cliff or something. I might be able to get myself out of a bad situation, or just in overcoming some of these things. Now, I'm not going to push it so hard that I'm going to re-traumatize myself. I'm not a silly girl. That's not a good thing. We're building trust, not just trust with each other, but trust with each other, right? Like, right? If I want that to come to the surface, right, I have to be that person that it knows that it can come to the surface. Okay. So, Nancy, during this week, hopefully people will pop in that are from my other show. I do another show on Sunday nights, Chatters Live, if you guys want to pop in. But as the week goes on, we got this word connection. We'll get into it with a different perspective tomorrow. I don't know what the perspective was today, but I'll come back into my live and watch, and I'm sure there'll be a lesson in that for me anyway. But we'll come back in and we'll tackle this word connection again tomorrow. Thank you, Nancy, and congratulations on picking out your snow for your layout. I'm excited to see your winter layout, and I know that's what you've been waiting for. Bet you it's going to look so Christmassy. Okay, you guys, have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.